Okay, what is going on, ladies and gents? Welcome back to a brand new episode of the Student Podcast. Today we are joined with my first guest of the show. So I did want to bring someone else onto the show just to make it a little bit more interesting so you guys aren't sat there, obviously listen to my voice for the next 45 minutes. You've got someone else's voice to have a little decent input as well. Today we're going to try to cover more of like an architecture kind of based podcast because Andy is a fellow architecture student. So yeah, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hey, first guest. I feel honoured, basically.
You should do.
Yeah, this is like a pretty big thing. Am I famous now? Is this what this is? Oh, excellent. Well, I'm Andy. I study architecture with Tom at BCU. Hold on.
Sorry, one sec. There we go.
Crisp. Yeah, that's basically it. Tom was basically the first person that I met. Like we went to the applicant visit day where they get you to do like a sketching workshop where after you crumple up a piece of paper or something like that.
Yeah, it was an interesting day.
Yeah. What happened? Like your mum forced you to talk to me or something like that?
Yeah, so basically what happened was obviously everyone that goes to the induction days, the open days, the applicant days. So the applicant days are basically when you've kind of already got into uni, you've already applied, and then you kind of go to get a bit of a taster session, etc. Whereas the open days are kind of more like presentations, talking about the course.
Yeah.
So obviously everyone is proper nervous going into them. I went in with my mum. Most people went in with their parents. Some people didn't.
I went in by myself. So
yeah. Well, that tells you what kind of person Andy is. I'm obviously a little bit more to myself. Or well, back then I was more to myself. This is probably like 3 years ago.
3 years ago. Yeah.
So that was the first. So Andy is the first person I ever met on the course, which is very cool.
Yeah.
I find.
Yeah, it's mad that we've come this far as well.
I know. And my mum actually forced me to speak to him because, like I mentioned, I wasn't the most confident guy, as you can say. And I remember, I think we were standing on the side or something whilst having a speech. And then my mum actually started to have the conversation with Andy.
Yeah.
And then kind of like brought me into the conversation, obviously just to try and get me to meet people. And I don't actually remember meeting anyone else but Andy on that first day.
Yeah, it's true. I remember speaking to like maybe one or two people, but like your mum's lovely. She was just like,
Yeah.
so you here,
She's
here
a
for
teacher.
architecture as well? I could tell she was a teacher.
Yeah, she's a teacher.
Same kind of approach my dad does. My dad's a teacher as well. But like, to be honest, like thanks to your mum, because like now we've known each other for 3 years. Like you said, it's been absolutely brilliant, man.
And you're now on the student number one podcast in the world.
Yeah, exactly.
I've literally just announced that. That is literally just plucked up. Mate. We are now the number one student podcast in the world.
In case you didn't know.
How do you feel? How do you feel being on the...
Hey man, I feel really good. Like I said, I feel honoured. First guest. I mean, I'm ready just to jump into it right now. Like, yeah.
Let's do it. Okay, so I wanted to ask Andy kind of why he's studying architecture, why he's interested in the subject, what made him choose architecture as a subject. I've previously gone into this kind of idea myself in previous videos, but I thought I'd dive into it myself. But first off, why did you choose architecture? Why do you want to be an architect? Or do you want to be an architect? That is the main question.
Well, that's a whole other question there, Tom. But like, to be honest, like as a kid, I played a lot with Lego, like construction, all those kinds of tools. As a kid, you would think designing and construction would help you broaden your mind. And like where I was growing up, I did a lot of like designing and drawing. So like the mix between the two, when I was coming to picking my option, just kind of felt right. I'd like also helping with that. I worked with my dad like around the house quite a lot.
You're quite practical, aren't you? You're quite hands-on.
Yeah, very practical, hands-on. Like you already know this, but I used to live in South Africa, and you don't really get somebody in to build your house or design your house for you. You kind of do it yourself. So around about that age, between like 5 and 7, like my dad was just building parts of the house, and I'd be watching him or helping him out. Whether it be
That's pretty cool. That's a pretty cool concept.
Yeah, whether it be carrying stuff around or just helping him plan things out, that would be absolutely brilliant for me. And that carried on to where I am now, living in the UK, where we moved into like 2 houses now. We've both worked on together. So that's just carried on throughout my entire life so far. So when it came to picking my options for A level, that's where designing kind of had to come into it. So I picked product design, a mix between like being creative and drawing and model making with the practicality of like, okay, this has to work as a product. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And also that mixed in with seeing different cultures, I think, was the big thing going into architecture. Coming from South Africa, which is to be honest, to me, it's a third world country at this point. It's actually a first world, but the way it's going right now, it's a third world in contrast to where we are right now. So the changes from where I used to live kind of brings that other element into it, where I can also bring that into architecture and community.
So would you say you've known from a young age that you wanted to be an architect then?
Well, yeah,
What
kinda.
a designer,
Yeah,
creative,
exactly.
a
Yeah.
creative guy, yeah.
Yes, yeah, I'd say so. What about you, Tom?
What am I?
Well,
I am.
what made you like think that architecture was for me, or like you wanted to go into that kind of field?
I like I've mentioned before. I've known since I was probably not known, but I've had an idea since I was probably about 5 years old that I wanted to do something to do with buildings, design work, being creative from a very young age. Very similar to Andy. I loved my Lego. I absolutely loved it. I'd spend hours and hours and hours doing Lego. I remember as I was growing up, as I was about 10 years old, my grandma and granddad actually used to buy me, usually on the Lego sets, it's like an age range.
Yeah, there is.
And I think, what's the max age? It's like 18 or something. 19.
Yeah, some like it's up to 18, but my favorite ones are like between 0 and 99, as if like on your
0 and
99.
99?
Yeah, there are some with like.
Never heard of that.
Yeah, but you're right. There are some with like 18 and stuff on there.
Yeah, so I remember when I was about 10 years old, my grandma and granddad used to buy me the 16 to 18-year-old sets.
Yeah.
And I used to take that with pride. I used to take the fact that I was doing 16 to 18-year-old Lego sets to pride because I absolutely loved it. I'd spend, like, usually on my birthday or on Christmas, I'd get a big Lego set and I'd literally spend 6, 7, 8 plus hours doing these Lego sets, just constantly focused, following this instruction manual, sometimes not even following the instructions manual because I just like to kind of just put together puzzles and that. Yeah. And so from like a young age, kind of doing puzzles, building things, being creative. And as I got older, I did more of that kind of stuff. I went into like more of like, what was it? Meccano?
Yeah, Meccano.
Meccano.
Yeah, I did a bit of Meccano as well.
Or Meccano.
Or Meccano, either one. That was Meccano for me. I remember I had a set which was like building I think it was a VW Beetle as a Meccano set. That was my favorite one. And I used that as like to play with like the Lego building that I just built. So therefore I was putting together like the car and then the building and making it lived in, which is kind of it's like a really weird thing for a kid to do. It's just like to put all that family stuff together. I guess,
yeah. And I used to be very precious about my Lego sets. If I'd built something, I am not getting rid of that. I am not breaking it. I had in my room, so when I was younger, obviously everyone's got them bunk beds.
Yeah.
And I had a little, kind of like a little den underneath my bed.
Oh, you went underneath one?
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
But it was like you go into this little entrance and then it's all open. Oh so God. I'd have lights along the top.
Yeah.
I was a bit of a weird little kid.
No. This is like a full commitment to the cause.
Yeah.
And then
I'd have this whole village under my bed.
Jeez, I had mine on the top.
Sick.
I didn't know what I was thinking, but I slept on the bottom, and then I had
that's weird. That's a bit bad.
Yeah, it's on the bottom, and then I had this stuff on the top. I don't know what I was thinking. I think maybe I was going for like a cliff scene or like a setting where like the village would be on the side of a cliff, and then that's where planes would take off from.
Yeah,
that's what I was thinking. But I
literally
we'll
roll with that.
Yeah, we'll go with that. But yeah, very similar backgrounds in Lego right there.
Yeah, so obviously going through school and everything, I kind of had this idea that I wanted to be an architect. Obviously, there's a lot of questions being thrown around asking what GCSEs do you need to take to be an architect, what A-levels do you need to take. Like, to be honest, if you are doing your GCSEs right now, I probably wouldn't stress what GCSEs you're taking because I'd probably just enjoy yourself at that kind of age. But point, A-levels, you do want to kind of start diving into some specific subjects, which we will dive into in a minute because we've got a decent question that will cover that kind of topic.
I'm excited.
But yeah, growing up, always wanted to be an architect. However, this is going to be quite a controversial point. I probably wouldn't say I'm 100% sure that I want to be an architect as of now. Now doing architecture for the past 2 years, it has made me question whether I want to be an architect. Maybe I do want to be an architect, but I could do maybe some more design work or like go into a creative company, but still have my degree in architecture or still be like a fully qualified architect. But these are the kind of questions you want to ask yourself. We've been very lucky to know from a young age that we want to be an architect. Obviously, a lot of people from a young age don't know what they want to. They don't know what to become. They'll get to 25 years old and they still don't know what they want to do with their life.
I mean, like, for some people, that's fine. Because
Yeah.
finding out what you really want to do is very difficult.
It
Like,
is difficult.
It's a total consequence of, like, how you grew up or where you're from or what you're interested in at that moment in time. Like, it takes time to figure out what you truly want to do. But even then, like, it doesn't really matter as long as you're doing something to get you towards what you think is the right direction. So, like you say, you're not entirely sure you want to be like an architect, like a strict architect that designs buildings and goes through all these regulations and talking to those people. And you're not alone. Like, I'm kind of the same, is that I don't really want to be like an architect in the strictest sense, but then at the same time, I'm not sure what I'd rather be at this moment in time. You know what I mean? So
It is difficult, but I feel like this is going to be another controversial point. But I feel like the education system is kind of forcing people to go through these stages in life, to go to school, to then go to college or do A levels, so then go to uni, get your degree, then you go and get a job. But it doesn't actually have to be that way. You don't have to follow those principles. It's becoming more apparent now that people don't actually go through the process of going to school, etc. And these kind of people are more successful than the people that are going to university because they're just following what they enjoy doing rather than just following the system that has kind of been set and like drilled into everyone.
And I'd say, Tom, I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
But that depends on the kind of person that you are.
Yeah.
Some people can do it. I feel like you're that kind of person, but you've obviously chosen this path to go on. Other people need that comfortability of a set system like uni and school to find out what's really for them and like what they really want to pursue as a professional career. You know what I mean? But then at the same time, like, if you're in that system for that long and that's all you know, it doesn't really fully prepare you for like going in and finding a job and working in that setting. You know what I mean? You're only used to that school environment.
Yeah, and I'd also say, obviously, to be an architect, you do have to go through those stages. You do have to go to school. You have to get A levels.
Oh yeah.
You have to go to uni. You have to get the degree, and you can't become an architect without going through them stages. But obviously, if you do want to pursue a different career, you don't necessarily have to go through uni and everything if you don't actually need the degree to actually do that.
Then again, architecture degree, still very useful. Just don't have to do architecture.
Very useful.
Yeah.
If you do want to be an architect, I would highly advise you to follow through, get your degree. You don't necessarily have to do the full course if you're not really sure on actually becoming an architect, but you can get into a lot of jobs. You can get into a lot of different design and creative fields with a degree like architecture because the amount of kind of skills we cover, the amount of topics we cover.
Yeah, just the scope that having an architecture degree like can get you into is just incredible. Like you're still a designer first and foremost, so anything in a design field is literally at your fingertips. You have an architecture degree.
Yeah,
Just
and also following on from your point a minute ago, talking about how kind of trying things out. So one thing I would highly advise people to do from a young age is try different things, test things out, see if they work or not. We were talking earlier about kind of how people are scared to fail, but obviously failure sets you up for success. Going through failure, trying things out, seeing if it works, seeing if it makes you happy. If it doesn't make you happy, if you enjoy it, or maybe if you're not so good at something, you don't have the skill set for something, you won't actually find out until you try. You actually try, you put yourself out there, you just test things out.
Yeah.
It's what you need to do, and people are quite scared of failure. So you've had an experience last year at uni where you felt like you were quite uncomfortable with some of the work you were given.
Yeah, it was more like that was a completely different like situation. Is that it was more that I wasn't getting on with my tutor at the time, but then there was a very overlying issue of me just being uncomfortable with like managing everything, as well as like just trying something and then not feeling that was the correct way to do it, and therefore too scared to tell anyone about it, if you know what I mean. Like, I'd have this idea for the residential project that we had, but like to say that was going to be my idea, I was too scared that it was going to be shut down, so I never pitched it properly. I only kind of pitched it halfway, which was good in the short term, but it never helped me stretch that to its full potential. It could have been far better if I just bitten the bullet, if I just said that, okay, that's the idea, like, okay, you say it's not that good. Like, you can say the reason for it. If they make sure it's constructive and I'm willing to take up that constructive criticism, then that would make me a better person, and I know which direction to go into. I was just, like, over the summer, like, one of my good friends now, Dom, she was telling me how, like, you shouldn't be scared to fail because, like, you can do it, and you fail, laugh about it and say, guess I won't do that, and then do something, like, just carry on with something different. There's
exactly that.
absolutely nothing wrong with failing, because that's the best way you learn.
Yeah.
To be honest.
It's even, I was talking to Cam the other day, so me and Cam are very into, do you know Gary Vee?
I knew. Oh man, I love Gary Vaynerchuk.
Yeah.
Oh god, I watch his YouTube channel.
So we were watching a video yesterday where he was actually talking about people failing, people trying loads and loads of things, because he preaches that kind of thing a lot. Because a lot of people give people a lot of stick for trying something out and kind of sacking it off.
That's what I really hate. Like someone shooting you down for trying something.
Yeah,
like,
well, no, you got to try. But this is something that we do want to kind of push to kind of like the younger audience. As you are growing up, you do really need to try out things, and this will really, really help you to understand what you enjoy, what you're good at, and kind of help you like create this career where it's based around your skills, what you enjoy, what's going to make you happy, and potentially getting a degree or whatever you want to do. Really,
it'll take you to where you need to be.
Yeah.
Like potentially where you want to be, as long as you just give it a go. Whether it set you back a little bit, that's fine. Just give it an even bigger go, and that'll just take you further.
So diving into some questions.
Questions.
We've got one question kind of covering A levels, and coursework kind of stuff. So the first question being, if you're a student of art and graphic design during college, are you in a better position to understand / deal with the workload for architecture in terms of coursework?
Okay.
Yes and no. It's a very good question.
It's a very good
shout
question.
out to Dutchy Ben.
Dutchy Ben.
Dutchy Ben, what a name. Are you Dutch? Is your name Ben?
That would make sense.
That would probably make sense. That was a very stupid comment.
Yeah, remember that comment on this video if it was correct. Anyway, so yeah, you're right.
I'll let you dive in. Come on.
Okay, so what's this basically asking? Like, art and graphic designs, they're coursework-based subjects, basically.
Yep.
And they're asking whether, like, doing a coursework-based subject sets you up better for doing architecture than, say, doing maths and physics. And I would agree, because they have that set way that if you do this amount of work, this coursework, which is architecture is a coursework-based subject, you'll be used to, like, pitching ideas or taking an idea to a certain extent and then being told to go back and modify. Whereas, say, for maths and physics, you just spend all your time figuring out a question, which is a lot of problem solving, which is great, and we do a lot of that as well, but it's not quite the same as a coursework-based subject where you have that workload and having to manage that time with the problem solving and with managing having to make improvements. So
yeah, 100%. Well, I'm always a big advocate, and I always push people to do a coursework-based subject as an A-level, because there's people on our course that maybe have done no coursework subjects throughout their time at school, and they're shocked with the amount of work they get given at university. They're really shocked by the amount of coursework. But for me, I studied art and graphics, and this really, really did help me kind of manage my time, get to grips with how like a coursework subject kind of works, because it's completely different to, say, like maths, where you are doing your exams at the end of the year. You are working towards just these exams at the end of the year. However, doing a coursework subject, you are constantly working, you are reaching goals along the course.
Yeah. It's reaching those stages that is different to studying for an exam. Like, we don't have any exams.
Yeah.
And we are lucky in that respect, because we're not just working to this one goal, but at the same time, we are constantly monitored for meeting that level. And if you don't, then that's a big problem when you get to the end of it. Like, you haven't met those stages. Yeah. The same way we're given, like, okay, so make sure you have, like, your concepts ready so that you can move on to the next stage. Like, it's those steps that you have to take in order to move on. If you don't meet them, you're in danger of being left behind. And that's what doing coursework-based subjects help you understand, is that you meet those levels in order to progress.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And also, one thing that I would say is that studying architecture, there isn't necessarily a right or wrong answer.
Yeah.
However, studying something like maths, there is a right or wrong answer. You get marked on the correct answer. something like art, there isn't necessarily a right or wrong answer.
Yeah.
So these kind of subjects will help you kind of just get into the swing of things, understand just the structure of a coursework subject, because it's completely different to a normal subject. However, with that being said, studying something like maths will help you eventually, like we were talking about earlier. We haven't actually used too much maths in university, and we both studied maths at A level. And we were told that we couldn't study architecture without maths.
I mean, I wouldn't quite say it's a lie to say that you need a maths requirement.
I wouldn't say it's a lie, but
you don't need it as much as they say. Like, obviously, you meet the requirements and study maths and obviously smash it to best of your ability. But don't be too stressed that you're going to use, say, quadratic equations or cosine, sine rule. Like, those are very minimal in the grand scheme of things. Not to peep at the next question or anything. It says that whether anyone who has experience with excessive coursework possesses a slight edge. I kind of agree. But then also, like, people who haven't done it also have, like, they could easily also have the same kind of edge as long as they're organized and know how to be on top of things. For example, you did art and graphics, is that right? So you did 2 coursework heavy subjects. So therefore you're slightly more organized with your time. You know how to manage it better than, say, someone who's just done English and maths and physics, which obviously are exams based. English less so, but you know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%.
So you can deal with that stress a little bit better. I did product design as my A level, so I have some idea of how to deal with a coursework load. And I did maths and geography, which are both exams, so I kind of have both ideas.
And as well as using art and graphics to help you understand coursework, the coursework side of things, it also helps you to develop your creative skills. It helps you develop that kind of like imaginative mindset. Obviously, going into architecture, if you have just studied maths, English, physics, you potentially might not be as creative or as what's the word I'm thinking of?
I'm not entirely sure, actually.
You're just not going to be you're just not going to be as creative as, say, someone that is going to be doing art and graphics, who have kind of gone through them stages and switching up their designs, trying to design new things, and obviously being critiqued by their work as well, and by their tutors telling them to kind of alter their design, because some people might go into architecture, have this amazing design, think it's amazing, and then their tutor tells them that they don't like it and it doesn't work, and then you're in this situation where you've never been told that your work isn't good before, and you're in this situation where you don't want to change your work, and you're just completely blown away with
that's
your tutor's feedback.
Yeah, it's like you said, that's where the experience of failure comes in. It's like, if this was the first time you're being told that they don't like your design and you have to change it, and you take it to heart so much that you don't want to do anything, it's, well, you're not used to being put back a little bit. Whereas, like, say you've done a course-based subject, you're used to being told to go back and change things, even though it was severe or minor. If you're not used to that, you're going to find it very difficult to succeed, I guess. In which case, that's something to work on. You could easily do that, as long as you make sure that you are used to that and you don't take it too personally. Yeah. I knew some people took that very personally last year.
A lot of people, well, you might go to university and you might struggle with wanting to change your design, because a lot of the time you will really, really like this idea, and your tutor will say, no, you're not going to get this grade, or you're not going to progress with this design, you need to change it. And a lot of people just really do want to hold on to that, but I would highly advise you guys to listen to your tutor. They are marking your work. They are grading you at the end of it.
And they're mad experienced as well. Like, they are fully qualified, experienced people. So any suggestion they have, definitely take on. And whether it hurts you or not, just use that to fuel your motivation to try it and to try something new, that different approach, you know?
So, moving on to the next question, kind of coming all together with the previous questions, is, with this, is the architecture course more time consuming than graphics and art A levels put together, or is it kind of like roughly similar? So we would say 100% no. They're not. Time consuming. Architecture is so much more time consuming than graphic design. At the end of the day, graphics and art, they are A levels. We are now working at a degree level. We are now studying architecture. This is going to get you a job. This is going to get you money. It's completely different concept to graphics and art. However, studying graphics and art, like I mentioned, will help you a lot. That's
I
pretty
agree.
much all I've got to
Yes,
say
I
about
mean,
that one.
the real comparison there is that you jump from GCSE to A level, but the jump from A level to degree, it's like, whoa, okay, this
Yeah.
matters now.
Yeah.
So,
But
that's
then for like, because you know when you're at school and you're studying at sixth form. For me, people tell me how the jump from first year at college is massive
Yeah.
to second year, and then the jump from second year to university is massive.
Mm.
For me, I know this is going to sound weird, and you might not agree with me with this.
I'm preparing myself.
For me, I didn't actually find the jump from first and second year in college that much difference, but the jump from school, being in that school environment,
Oh.
having your teachers there kind of like feeding you
Yeah,
all this work.
I think the term you're looking for is being spoon fed.
Yeah, spoon fed
Yeah.
for sure. And then going into uni where you are literally on your own, you've been thrown into this kind of situation where you don't have your teacher there telling
Yeah.
you what you need to do. You don't have someone there constantly telling you how you should do something. You are now on your own. You are working off your own back. You are now working towards your degree. It's a completely different environment. It's a completely different situation.
Yeah.
And that's something that we spoke about earlier as well.
Yeah. I wouldn't say that's very controversial. I mean, I was preparing myself for something
Yeah, so-
like as if you hadn't told me
I
this
know, I was
before.
picking that one up.
But yeah, I totally agree. It's like there's a lot of independence that has to come with being at uni that you have to understand is that it's not the same as being at A level where you could basically go to your teachers to say, I'm not sure how to do this, and they'll say, okay, go do this and this specifically. It's a lot more of like, okay, I'm unsure about how to read this and then understand what I'm meant to do with it. What the tutors will tell you is, okay, you can read that. I can tell you the concepts behind it, but look at these things to help you understand more. It's a lot more of finding out to help yourself understand.
They kind of direct you in a direction.
Yeah, it's a direction process, right?
Rather than kind of them telling you what you need to do. Because a lot of the time when I was studying art, they would essentially say, if you do this, you will get an A. If you do this, you will get whatever.
Yeah.
But at uni, it's much more like, I think you should do this.
Yeah.
Whether you decide to do it or not,
I mean,
it's up to you. But
it's annoying how ambiguous it is, but hey, that's the game when getting a degree, right?
yeah, and also that follows up with the whole idea of you can never be correct with architecture. There is no right or wrong answer. So they couldn't exactly tell you this is going to get you this or this is going to get you that. Because at the end of the day, it's all down to an opinion, which you will have to get to grips with when you do start architecture. You'll probably be a little bit shocked and you probably won't know exactly what to do with yourself.
No.
You may not like what teachers say about your work, but at the end of the day, it is all down to an opinion. There's no right or wrong answer. But they're just trying to teach you as many things as possible, and they're essentially trying to make you independent. Obviously, living or leaving your home to live somewhere else for university, that's all trying to give you these life skills to be away from your family, be a little bit more independent. Obviously, slightly different in your situation.
Yeah, it's slightly different for me. Like, I didn't stay in uni halls or anything. I actually live at home, and then I take the train into uni. I know quite a few people do that. I know Ryan does that. And
There's
that's
quite a few.
Yeah, it helps me save money, to be honest. And I live that close. Like, why would I move?
Yeah.
Like, this is a pretty decent uni in my area. There's no point in me moving for that. Wait, what was the question for that again?
Which one?
I can't remember. Like, I forgot. I immediately forgot my point halfway through what I was saying. Anyway.
Yeah. Anyway, we're moving on.
Moving
so
on.
the next question is, we'll just dive into like juggling.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Sure. So the next question is basically around, is there difficulty juggling uni, gym, and having a social life? I'm gonna pose this question to you. I mean, to me, you kind of have like this good ratio of, like uni, like achieving well, thriving, and then also going to the gym, achieving well, thriving, and then also running a YouTube channel. And now going into podcasts, like how did you get to grips with making that work? Put you on the spot.
Yeah,
Go.
This is gone. So for me, I always bang on about this, but I live my life around a routine. I love to be in a routine. I love to not necessarily do the same things every day. I like to do things differently, but I like to wake up at a certain time every day. I'll then have my coffee, I'll have my breakfast, etc. I'll then sit down, I'll do a bit of filming, I'll then sit and do a little bit of editing.
Yeah.
And then it'll get to about 10, 11 o'clock. I'll then think, right, I'll do some uni work now.
Yeah.
And then I always kind of set aside some time every day to have to go and enjoy myself. So my enjoyment really is going to the gym. So I always set aside like 2-3 hours every day to go to the gym. So maybe if I wake up, I think, right, I'll go to the gym at 1 or 2 o'clock today.
Yeah.
And I'll schedule my day around that. So for me, it's all about routine. People always ask me like, how do I balance everything? And to be honest, it's a lot of trial and error as well.
Yeah.
I've tried out different ways of doing things. And for me, I do tend to put a lot of pressure on myself to do a lot of things. I do want to try out loads of different things. I have a lot of, I just enjoy doing different things. I don't like just being or just studying architecture. I'd much rather be studying architecture and doing something else and doing this and jumping into podcasts or whatever, doing different things, kind of just testing myself out, see what I enjoy. At the end of the day, like I mentioned earlier on in the video, you just need to keep trying things out, see what you enjoy, see what makes you happy, see what you're good at. But for me, routine is essential, especially for something like architecture where it is massively time consuming.
And the better you can manage that time so that you can have that balance between, okay, I'm going to do work now and then I'll do something else later, the better you can be.
But I would one thing I would say, you have to be fairly disciplined to say like, right, I'm not going to go and sit and watch TV for the next 2 hours. For me, I don't tend to watch too much TV. If I am going to watch TV, I will sit and watch TV and do work at the same time. But that's just like kind of like how I've
certain type
up.
of person can do that. I definitely can't do that.
Can you not?
I can't do work in front of the TV. No way.
Yeah, see,
it
depends what's on though.
Yeah, exactly. It depends.
What's on.
I don't watch like any random stuff on the TV. Like I go to the TV to watch something.
Yeah. See, I don't really watch too much TV. I just listen to podcasts or watch YouTube.
Yeah, it's the same for me as well.
TV's just boring now.
Yeah.
YouTube is literally taking over TV. Yeah, for sure.
I mean, to be honest, like he's on the trend here. He's on the rise at the moment, being part
of
YouTube. Yeah.
I'm trying my best.
Dude, you're doing so well. You're getting there.
So one thing that Andy does actually love to do is that's actually running.
Oh yeah.
So I've wanted to kind of convert the question over to Andy and ask him how he juggles his running. He actually works quite a lot as well. Last year, I think you worked part-time, didn't you?
Yeah,
for a bit.
Yeah, last year I worked part-time in a studio and I worked at home as well in a cafe, and then as well as that I ran. What I liked about your routine, like your concept of a routine, and what I learned from you last year was that there was a lot of consistency throughout your day of like, okay, this is my set time to work. Whether that's going to be shifted around or not, I need to allocate that time for myself.
Go on,
yeah. So you had this set time for your work. Whether that was going to shift around or not, that work still has to be done. And I didn't really have a reward system for myself. So every time I'd work at such a long period of time, and then I'd always be tired, and I wouldn't have anything to do for myself aside from sleep, or to like just do some like random crap on YouTube, learning about something that wasn't going to help me like learn anything. So I took up running. And I ran, I just finished my log actually. I ran basically 5K every second day for about 3 months, which I think was
that's pretty good going.
That's some really good going. By the end of it, I reached my goal, which was to do 10K in under an hour.
Yeah, so that's good.
Yeah, I did 10.
I can't do that.
I was mad proud of myself because it was 10. I looked at my Google Fit. It was 10.1K in 48 minutes. Which is pretty solid. The fact I don't know why I didn't run like there was a literal 10K. I should have signed up for that. But yeah, that came from consistency and monitoring myself. And so I learned from running like how I can shift that into my work. And that's why semester 2 was by far my better semester, because I'd learned how to have the consistency of like, okay, I'm going to get up in the morning, do this run. And then when I get back, I prepare myself to do like what kind of work I'm going to do for the day, whether I'm going in or not. And then once that planning stage is done, I normally do that like while I'm having breakfast, because that's some good multitasking there. It's like it's wasted time if you're not.
And doing working first thing in the morning as well. I always find it so much more productive.
Yeah, work first thing in the morning is crazy because you can get so much done so soon, and you have more time for yourself later to do something.
Yeah.
And once that time's done, you can do more work in the afternoon. Like it's such a good balance.
Yeah.
So thanks for that tip, by the way. You gave me that last year.
What?
To get up really early. Do work and then do something else.
Well, at the start of last year, I did the waking up at 5 a.m. every day for a week.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to lie, that I probably wouldn't still do that now because I was like shattered all the time. But that completely changed my concept on work in the morning. So being up at 5 o'clock in the morning, it's just something about the idea that you are awake, you are doing work before everyone else. People are still asleep and you've done 2 hours worth of work.
Exactly.
But that's probably like my competitive side coming out of me, knowing that I'm kind of ahead of people. But definitely waking up early in the morning, I absolutely love. I'm definitely a morning person. I'm not necessarily... I never really wake up past 9, 10 o'clock, and I feel awful about it when I do.
I feel the same. Like coming out of summer, I'm right back into the routine that I wasn't at, like my bad one. That I struggled to wake up before 7 this morning. I had a 9 a.m, so I had to wake up before 7, or else I wouldn't have made it to uni on time. So I'm slowly getting myself back in, because the routine in the US, it's 5 hours out. I don't know how I survived.
But then, in contrast to that, what I'd say, in contrast to the whole routine thing, sometimes it's very good not to be in your routine, to spend a day where you are literally doing nothing. You're chilling, you're relaxing, you are resetting. It's
important. No. I'm just trying
to... It's massively important.
Because you need that time for yourself. If you don't, you're going to drive yourself insane.
Yeah.
Like...
See, my massive mistake that I made in first year and second year is that I was working my absolute socks off to get a first at uni. I don't know why it wasn't needed. Obviously, first, second year doesn't actually count towards anything. You just need to get through the year.
It's still good to put the effort in, though. You know?
Yeah, but I put like way too much pressure on myself. I was trying to do all these YouTube videos. I was trying to stick myself to doing 2 videos a week, giving myself an upload schedule, and I basically run myself into the ground because I didn't give myself time to recover. I didn't give myself time to reset. I didn't give me any days to relax and literally do nothing. So one thing, I know this is going to be a bit weird me talking about this, but you know Logan Paul?
Oh yeah, God, okay, yeah. I know Logan Paul.
Yeah, so I'm like a massive fan of Logan Paul's podcast, Impulsive, and what they talk about a lot is that...
Oh, to be fair, you're right, the podcast talks about some pretty good issues, to be honest. Like
I love it. So what they talk about is obviously they do a lot of things, they work loads throughout the week, and they actually make sure that every single Sunday they sit in the house, spend the day doing absolutely nothing but relaxing, spending time with the family, seeing their friends, and literally just doing nothing for the whole day just to reset. And coming from someone who was massive in the YouTube industry, who was like a multi-millionaire, and they're doing that themselves, is a good indication that we should do that. And to be successful, we do need to have rest, we do need to enjoy time with our family, we do need to go out for a drink. You need to come out your routine occasionally, because otherwise you get into this kind of like robotic mentality that you just need to do this, and you're in this kind of... You're a bit stuck and you're a bit too structured, where rest and time away is definitely something I highly advise people to do.
Yeah, I totally agree.
100%.
What was difficult about last year was that I was essentially working 2 jobs, as well as running, as well as uni. But coming out of
difficult.
It was very difficult. Like I'd be in the office 2 days a week, which would be like a Monday and a Wednesday, Monday and a Thursday, and then be in studio on a Thursday and a Friday, super studio on a Wednesday if I needed it, and then I'd work on the weekend, so I didn't have a day to myself.
Yeah. That's tough. Working whilst being at uni is something that I wouldn't advise people to do, but someone like Andy has done it very successfully. And
I mean, I'd encourage it if you need to do it. Like, don't let us discourage the fact that it still needs to be done. Like, if your loan doesn't cover it, or if you need some extra money to just push you forward a lot more. But working 2 jobs is completely unnecessary. Just make sure that it's the job that's getting you like what you need out of it. So I needed money, and I got money out of it, and I needed experience in a firm. I worked in the custard factory, and I got experience with working with people, using software, workflows, and technology and everything, and that's what I got out of it. Like if I'd worked somewhere different, it probably would have been a different experience, but the fact that I got the quality of experience out of it was the good thing. That's the main thing. Yeah.
And that is why I tend to advise people to do placements, work throughout summer, get some experience, because especially for something like architecture, getting experience in the actual working practice, it's a completely different environment. It's a different situation to university. So actually getting that initial experience before going into a full-time job or whatever is actually very vital. And I highly advise anyone to do that. Whatever you're studying, I'd highly advise you to get some experience in that field. It also helps you understand whether you actually want to do that or not, because you actually understand what kind of like what the working life is like as an architect.
Exactly. That's one of those main things, is that you can learn all of these things at uni, but if you don't know how it could be applied, then what are you going into really? What is your aim here if you don't know what it is that you're going to go into? I know you've done like a fair amount of placements. Before we had our placement praxis module, you already knew what kind of environment working in an architecture firm was, whereas some of us didn't. I'd done a work experience in it like a few years before, but it wasn't the same as going to the one that I did last year, where like it was slightly smaller and it was a different work sector. But it was just beneficial to know how the skills that I learned at uni would be applied in the real world, and almost like a reality check in a way. Like,
yeah, definitely.
At uni, they want to push your creativity and like get you to try out new things and experiment a little bit. And then once you go into practice, it's like, oh, so I can't make a flying buttress on like this random modernist building. Like, god damn it.
Yeah.
But then at the same time,
I know what you mean.
Yeah. At the same time, it's still beneficial.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So for me, I did after first year, I went straight into an architect's firm for 3 months. And something that I came to realise is, obviously first year is very conceptual. You can pretty much design whatever you want. Yeah. We did pretty much everything hand-drawn. I'm not sure if we're allowed to use computers in first year. I think some people did, but
by the end,
didn't.
Like they got quite a few first years to use software. Their summer task this year, which I sat and I was there for the crits, and I gave some examples of like how to improve their work. Their summer task was to design like a micro dwelling using just software. Like they weren't allowed hand drawing. I remember ours was just hand drawing. Yeah. If you remember.
I did it in Revit though, and then I drew over it.
Yeah, of course you did. That's faking it until you're making it there. Yeah. That's the whole level of cheating the game. I did all of mine hand drawn.
Yeah. But yeah, that experience over them 3 months in an architect's firm, I literally got to grips with what exactly I needed to learn, what I didn't need to learn, and I literally went into second year and I just cut out a load of the rubbish that I was previously doing in first year, and I narrowed it down into kind of the skill sets I needed for actually becoming an architect, and what actually skills I needed to be in an architect's firm. And they helped me a lot in terms of getting to grips with what softwares I need, kind of what architect firms are looking for in terms of graduates. And it definitely helped me kind of narrow down my skill set and what I was actually doing and what I was actually wasting my time on.
Yeah.
Because you do tend to waste a lot of time at uni doing things that you don't necessarily need.
That was a fun thing to learn, like what matters and what doesn't.
Yeah.
Like, you know,
for sure.
Like in tutorials and stuff, you learn it's like, oh my god, I have to do this, but at the same time, it's like you don't actually have to spend that much time on it. Like, there are easy ways just to get that out of the way so you can focus on the bigger thing. And I found that so funny, is that I spent so much time on this one thing, even though it's so minuscule in the grand scheme of things. Like, that's one of the skills that you learn, is how to prioritize what's important. I have this is a bit weird. I haven't told you this already.
Go on then.
I always stick up 2 post-it notes before I start a project or start something. One of them is the word save underlined, because I always forget to save.
Okay.
And then the other one is kill babies. Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah, it's not like that. Slightly controversial, I know. But what that means is that if I have a new idea, like, how much time do I really want to spend on it? Yeah. Like, I have all these ideas that come out, and like I start all of them at the same time, as if like I'm going to get everything finished. But in reality, there's only like 1 or 2 that matter, that will get me to where I need to go. And therefore, I have to kill those new ideas. I have to kill those babies in order to make myself progress to where I need to be. I learned that at Christmas. But my semester 2 last year was like really going for it there.
Yeah.
Because that's where I realized that I don't need to do all this useless stuff. Like, so many new ideas, but what's really important? Like, that's the skill of prioritizing right there.
Yeah. And I thought we'd just finish up with 3 kind of, not quick fire questions. We'll go into a bit of depth, but we've got 3 more questions that I was going to kind of ask.
Yeah, the first one. We already touched on it, like what to expect in your first year. It's a lot of there's a lot of like experimentation and trying things out, really, isn't it?
And getting to grips with the course, getting to grips with your course mates, the tutors, what the tutors want, what the tutors don't want.
Yeah.
Essentially, you just want to utilize first year to learn as much as possible, understand what you're good at, what you're not good at, what you need to develop on, and just probably just getting comfortable with the course because it's a long course.
That is the main
7 years.
You have to get comfortable.
So,
If you don't enjoy it, find something that you do enjoy about it, because you've signed up to this course. And one way that's going to make yourself enjoy it a lot more is just like look for those things, even if it's little. And
one massive point I would say is do not stress too much about your grade at all. Just enjoy it. Enjoy your time at your first year at university. Make the most of going out. I probably shouldn't be preaching this kind of stuff, but enjoy yourself. Go out, have a few drinks with your friends. You're in first year at university. This is probably a mistake I made.
You've created a big old trash fire right here. I mean,
I've completely ruined the podcast now.
We're gonna have to shut this whole operation down. Geez. You make a good point. It's like, what's also important? You've still got to enjoy it. You're still a bloody uni student, mate. Like, come on, you gotta still enjoy it. Not to say you shouldn't do anything. Like, but then
if you come into your third year and you've worked your absolute balls off in first and second year, you probably look back and you probably think that maybe I didn't actually need to work that hard. Maybe I could have relaxed a little bit more, enjoyed myself, maybe meet more people. Kind of like in a similar situation I'm in now. But definitely just enjoy yourself, get to grips with the course. Don't stress about your grade, because at the end of the day it doesn't matter. Definitely work hard to do as best you possibly can, but don't stress too much about it, because a lot of people do end up burning themselves out. They get quite upset, and even some people don't carry on with the course because they just burn themselves out.
I mean, that's totally fine if you realise it's not really for you.
Yeah, definitely. At least you tried.
Exactly.
Like
don't be afraid to fail.
No,
you know?
Don't be.
Okay, so the next question is how to survive an architectural degree.
Yeah, I'm not sure if we can answer this one.
Just if you click that rewind button to the very start of the podcast and listen to this entire thing up till this point, you'll answer that question.
Yeah. Well, no, there's
all we could do is help and give tips. Like, how you survive is completely...
how to survive. Like I've said before, routine, just get yourself in a routine, get yourself on the work. When you get given work, start it, do it, get into it straight away. Don't procrastinate. A lot of people, and I personally have procrastinated a lot. You've probably
I'm a big procrastinator.
Everyone procrastinates. That is fine. Don't stress about if you are procrastinating.
I was close to becoming an advocate for procrastination.
Well, Jacob's a definite.
Yeah, Jacob's a big procrastinator.
I know, bless him.
I mean, but the whole act of procrastinating is like a fear of failure. Do you know that? It's thinking that you failed before you even tried. So therefore you don't start.
No, but you could procrastinate. If you could be trying to do work and you could still be procrastinating because you're in this mind block, and that's when things like going to the gym, going for runs, doing things you enjoy, going away from uni and doing things that you're not thinking about architecture, you will actually realise that when you come back, you'll have this new idea, you'll think of new ideas, everything will start kind of coming together. So definitely stay on top of your hobbies as well. That's probably a big point that I'd say. And how to survive is try not to stress too much.
It's good to have something for yourself, basically. Like, the degree's for yourself and the courses, but like you have the gym for yourself, and you have doing your YouTube videos for yourself as well. Like, it's important to have an escape almost. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like, for sure. Definitely.
Like, you're at uni all day and then you come home and you do more uni. Like, where's the break? Where's the balance? Like,
balance.
Balance
that
is key.
The word here. Balance.
Balance is definitely key.
Yeah.
A lot of architects nowadays, like Christian, our new tutor, said that he's got a good work-life balance because he has 2 kids and a wife.
Yeah.
And he's now a teacher. He's from the US. Like, he teaches here.
Yeah.
And he was saying that he's got a good work-life balance because he knows that if he does all the majority of the work that he needs to do during the day, come home and spend time doing something else, i.e. with his family, and then do a little bit of work afterwards to prepare himself for the next day, that's fine. That's a really good balance.
Yeah, good balance.
It's a good thing to have something for yourself to, make yourself not go insane. Yeah. Just don't go insane. Don't do it.
You might do, but try not to.
It'll happen.
It will happen. It will happen at some point.
Try your best not to.
It will happen multiple times throughout the course, but definitely just there's little tips and tricks to get your way around it. Try not to get insane.
Yeah.
We were talking about all-nighters earlier. Like, I remember I have first year I did probably quite a few all-nighters. I was up till silly o'clock. I was up till probably 5, 6 o'clock, and then getting up at 7 o'clock to do presentations the following day.
I'm sorry, it's not an all-nighter if you
Yeah,
if
that's
you
sorry.
slept.
Yeah,
It's not.
I've just ruined that. Mate. For me, I personally try my best not to do all-nighters because I just can't function I can't function the next day if I'm having any sleep. But a lot of people in architecture do all-nighters, and a lot of the time it's actually needed.
It is needed in like a very severe case. You got to get the work done at the end of the day. But at the same time, you should work not to have all-nighters. They're not healthy.
Yeah.
The stigma that all architects like have no sleep and they're constantly restless and they have to keep coming up with this stuff. It's like, it's not necessary.
No.
As long as you plan yourself out and like you know like what are going to be the useless stuff, what you need to focus more on, like then you should be fine. That's when you get the balance. Technically, you should never be having an all-nighter.
No. Well, after first year, one thing I did note to myself was that I wasn't going to have I wasn't going to stay up past 2 o'clock at all for the whole of second year. And I stuck to that. I didn't go, even if it got to about 1 o'clock and I really had loads of work to do, I would just go to bed, wake up a little bit early the next day and just get started the following day, because at the end of the day, is your brain going to be more awake at 1 o'clock at night or 7, 8 o'clock in the morning? You're going to be more productive then, or you're going to be more productive the night before. Obviously, some people work differently. But for me, if I just went to bed a little bit earlier and then got up earlier the next day, that kind of worked fine for me.
It's a dangerous game for some people, though. Like,
Definitely, because a lot of people just probably sleep through.
Yeah, exactly. It's a strange game, architecture, isn't it? It's a very strange game. Like some people have their niche and what they're really good at. Like when you're at uni and you discover like what your strengths are, and you come to do group work. That's like it's the most interesting things to find out, like who does work and who doesn't, and who's good at certain things and who aren't. Yeah. I love having the conversation with Ritesh and with Jason, but also with like who did I speak to the other day? I can't remember. I spoke to Andy Hilton. That's it. Andy Hilton just got back from Hong Kong, and we were talking about collab, this module where we have to work with different disciplines like interior design, landscape, potentially product, if that's what the module's about. And he was saying that, certain people are good at different things, but people are different in that if you really care about the work, you'll put the effort in. And if someone does not care about it enough that they won't contribute their part, then you kind of wonder why they're there. Yeah. I think about that a lot, is that if you're not there to put the effort to what is essentially a team effort, then what are you really there for? Like, what's your goal here? Because you always have to work in a collaborative space in the design field, especially in architecture. But
then I feel like some people just they haven't been brought up with that work ethic. They haven't been brought up with that mentality that if they're going to university, they're going to have to work hard. They're going to have to work hard to get that degree. A lot of people aren't brought up in that environment, whereas I feel like me and you are very much work ethic driven. I'd say that I work really, really hard on anything I do. If I'm going to do something, I'm going to work as hard as I possibly can on that. But some people obviously don't have that mentality, and I feel like that's where people struggle. And maybe not necessarily they're not trying not to work, but maybe they just don't have that work ethic.
Yeah, maybe it's just not for them. Like it's an intense environment. Like, we're not gonna lie, but at the same time, like it's still a university degree. Like you should put the effort in. And I think on that note, we're gonna wrap up the podcast because we've covered quite a few points there. Covered a lot of points actually. Yeah, we've covered a lot. We've gone from obviously all the A levels. We've gone from juggling stuff. Juggling literally life. Juggling life. How to survive, something that probably we shouldn't give you advice on. I mean, because not everybody's the same. No. You know, all we can do is give tips on how we've dealt with it. And so the biggest tip is that you deal with it in your own way. It's just like, how are you going to manage that to be the best person that you can be? You know. And that's why I like having these podcasts. I like having different people on the podcast to get different perspectives, how different people work, how different people study,
and whether they enjoy the subjects that they're doing, whether they don't, etc. So it's obviously really good to have different people on the show. So thank you, Andy, for coming on the show.
It's a pleasure being here, Tom.
The fellow architecture student.
Yeah.
I hope you guys have enjoyed this episode. If you want me to get another guest on the show, please let me know. If you want me to cover any specific topics, or if you've got any questions, just let me know down below in the comment section on this YouTube video. Or if you're watching, or if you're listening to this on iTunes, Spotify, or SoundCloud, just message me on Instagram, and that is at Tom Rowe. I'm just going to do a quick cheeky plug there.
Oh yeah, I'm okay with that. I'm just here as a guest. You do know what you need to do.
Oh yeah, go on.
Yeah.
Plug yourself.
Plug myself? I'm not actually going to plug myself. You don't need to do that. Okay.
Okay. Anyway, thank you as always for watching the video, guys. Make sure you smash the thumbs up button. Make sure to subscribe. Hit the notification bell.
Do you want to try that again? I mean. oh no, he's gone. Yeah.
Thank you as always for. I'm seriously fucked this up now.
Thank you as always.
Thank you as always for watching the video, guys. Make sure you smash the thumbs up button. Make sure to subscribe. Hit the notification bell, and I'll see you next time. Peace.